Welcome back to Gibbo MMA, and we are previewing UFC Noche. Diego Lopes takes on Jean Silva this weekend. Absolute stacked weekend of fights. We got the UFC Noche, and as well as Canelo Alvarez takes on Terence Crawford, which is promoted by Dana White. So busy weekend for TKO Group, and yeah, this fight card is headlined by two Brazilians in celebration for the Mexican Independence Day. This is the third installment of the UFC Noche, and yeah, it's a great initiative celebrating the independence from the Spanish Empire. And yeah, as far as this card, it is not like the card that we had last year. It was because last year's card we had Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili in the Sphere, first ever mixed martial arts event in the Sphere, or sort of sporting event. And yeah, it was a great card. Two title fights. We had Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko on that card. But now we're getting sort of a watered down, not a watered down, but yeah, it's because originally this fight was supposed to be in Guadalajara in Mexico, but the arena that they were constructing got stalled, so they had to move the event to San Antonio at the Frostbank Arena. You know, home of the San Antonio Spurs. You know, big basketball arena, holds 17 odd thousand people. So it's been moved here for a fight night. So we don't get any pay-per-view event in September, because I believe this probably would have been a pay-per-view event. And with that, we get a great main event, in Lopes and Jean Silva. Lots on the line, potential title shot for the next guy, possibly. We'll run through the rankings, look at the landscape of the featherweight division, but I'm solely gonna preview this fight because the rest of the fight card isn't really, just a lot of, not unknown, but yeah, just not a lot of high level sort of fighting. And speaking of water, actually, for all you waterholics, not an ad, but bought this the other day, Liquid Death. It's like carbonated water. And how is this company valued at $1.4 billion now, just for selling water? Let's give it a test. Let's give a little bit of ASMR. Get close to the mic. Okay, this is still water, so not carbonated. This is still water version. Mountain water, drinking water from the Alps. Murder your thirst. Not an ad, not an ad. But what I find interesting about this brand and how it's been so successful is how do you become valued at $1 billion or so for selling water? Now, this was on clearance for $1. On clearance for $1. Literally 10 meters away, 6 meters away is water on tap for free. And how does someone sell water and make a company out of that valued at $1.4 billion? And that's branding and marketing. Looks like almost like a Modelo. If I was out, it looks like I'm charging beers right now. You can see that. But it's just water. And that's why the UFC is so good. How do they still stay relevant, but put on, not low-level fights, but put on fights and build up people that we don't know about into superstars? And the common theme with MMA and boxing and all that, we get these watered down events, very top heavy. And this is sort of a watered down event. The main event is really good. And they're using this Mexican Independence Day sort of theme to market and brand this fight night, and will sell out a 17,000 seat arena. You know, some comparisons here. How do you make billions of dollars for selling water that you can get free from the tap? And that's branding and marketing. And that's what Liquid Death do really well. That's what the UFC do really well. And where you see other promotions, it's the only profitable MMA promotion in history. PFL, Bellator ended up having to sell. And it really comes down to that. Obviously having smart business practices, questionable business practices, but how do you keep that bottom line real trim? And how do you very much keep the margin lines exponential? How do you keep the profits coming in? And that's what Liquid Death has done, marketed it really well to people who are like energy drinks, Monster Energy. How does it, look cool drinking water instead of from a fucking plain old Coles water bottle, which you can get for a lot cheaper. Chucked it in a can that looks like a beer drinking can, Modelo, whatever, and it's just water. And with these watered down UFC events, how can we package it into looking like an absolute must-watch event? You can't miss out. Let's get storylines behind it. UFC Noche, a celebration of the Mexican fighters, Mexican Independence Day. And that's what we got here. So main event is great, don't get me wrong, but everything else, it's not the fight. It's not on the fighters. It's just like UFC just do it so well on marketing and branding. Now they have a $7.7 billion deal with Paramount Plus, and we're going to see more watered down events with these 40 plus events a year. And yeah, I just got to say, I really tip my hat to it. I ain't hating on it. I'm just giving you another perspective into the circus and how things are promoted and how water can make your company worth $1.4 billion where you can get it free from the tap. So you got to really play into people's sort of psychology and emotion when it comes to their money and wanting them to pay and spend their time consuming whatever it be, fucking water, alcohol, caffeine, or MMA fights. So yeah, I thought I'd just bring that up. I wasn't thinking of that until literally like 10 minutes before I started recording, because I've had this been sitting in there and I was like, fuck, this is really just nailed it on the head as far as, water and making money off watered down things. And yeah, so enough of fucking water stuff. So all you waterholics out there, let me know what kind of water you're drinking, what brand of water you're drinking. Again, not an ad, just an analogy. But all you waterholics, let me know your thoughts around, the water industry or what water you're drinking. Like you chuck an Italian sort of word on a glass bottle of water, bang, $10. You chuck a tropical place, a real holiday destination place on a plastic piece of bottle, Fiji water, bang, fucking worth billions again. And yeah, I just thought that was pretty interesting. So, but let's keep going. Let's keep moving forward. So yeah, Dana White is spending his time he's promoting the Canelo Alvarez fight, which will start after UFC Noche. So busy day. But yeah, this is now taking place in San Antonio. And yeah, as I said, UFC Noche, yep, still working, is yeah, not what it was last year. I think getting canned from Guadalajara, Mexico, where it was going to be, changed plans. But main event, Diego. So the first guy in this main event I'm going to talk about is Diego Lopes. And this guy's coming off that decision loss to Alex Volkanovski, where in the vacant featherweight bout, because Topuria vacated, so Volkanovski won that. And Diego Lopes had success in that fight. He dropped him at the end of the second round, and also in the fourth he had him hurt. He hit him square in the eye with his knuckle, and Volk was, seeing double vision for a little bit. Now he's up again, and coming off that loss, I think and believe he would have learnt so much being in there with a tactician in Volkanovski. How does a shorter guy outpoint a bigger, more longer, rangier guy in Lopes? How does a guy who was 5'6" go in there and make it look like you can't touch him when you want to? And I believe Lopes would have been walking out of there, I hope so, with just, obviously losing obviously sucks, but a lot of lessons can be learned. And in this fight, you could say remind you of when Canelo Alvarez fought Floyd Mayweather and just got kind of schooled a bit into the levels of this game. And Diego Lopes, I think Volk caught him at an early time, because Lopes is now 30, still developing. And I felt like Volk was Mayweather in this instant, and Diego was Canelo Alvarez. Just kind of got him early, and he just, had more experience. Volk had more experience, but just showed you, hey, if you want to be at the top of this game, top of this level, you got to go and make these adjustments, because Volk was coming off those 2 back-to-back knockouts against Islam and Topuria, and Volk was like the 3-1 underdog in this fight. And Lopes is a big featherweight. He's 5'11", and he was the favorite in this fight, and he just got shown where the levels are, and being physical, chin down, marching forward, you can't beat these guys doing it that way. So I think walking away from this, I'm hoping, like I said with Benoit Saint Denis, that he went and worked on those issues. Benoit with the defensive gaps in his guard, not being defensively minded, made those adjustments. You saw what happened with Mauricio Rufy last week at UFC Paris. And the question is, has Diego Lopes gone in and worked on those things that he was lacking against Volk, which was, he's a bigger, taller guy, and he wasn't able to dictate the range. He wasn't able to outpoint a shorter guy. And I think he would have been like, if a guy like Volk, who's shorter than me, can do this, I should be able to as well. So I'm hoping he's gone and worked on those things. And what Volk was doing was, it was on his terms. So whenever he wanted to strike, it was either all the way in, up close, in Diego Lopes's guard and clinch, real up close, all the way in, or all the way out. And Lopes was just hesitant. He was stuck in that mid-range, like, why can't I sort of, like, he did hit Volk, but he wasn't getting the better of the exchanges. And I'm hoping, and coming into this fight against a guy like Jean Silva, who has great striking, really powerful, he's got to have improved on his stand-up if he wants to win. Because Lopes, he's coming in to this fight an underdog. He was paying $3, and he's now shortened in, which to 275, which is, because I thought that was I still think it's too big of a gap in the odds for this fight. I think it's more of an even fight, pretty 50-50. So, and path to victory is for Lopes. Like people are saying, well, not people are saying, but I think he needs to mix it up. He needs to mix it up. Where on Jean Silva, because Silva hasn't been in a 5-round fight, and it's just, and Lopes has those championship fights in his experience now. He's gone the full 5 rounds with a guy like Volk. And Silva, being that explosive guy, they generally tend to have, not as good cardio. So I think Lopez really needs to wear and pressure smartly against Silva and really test the cardio and get him into the round 4 and 5. But he's got to be defensively minded, and these guys are a bit weird. They're constantly, doing this when they're fighting, talking, and we're going to see a bit of that, those antics. I don't know if it's like a Brazilian thing. They're a bit more vocal in there with that sort of stuff. They're respectful, of course. They're really respectful guys, but they just do weird shit like that. But yeah, I think Lopez, I reckon teeps to the body is going to be key. He's got, he's a taller guy. I think doing those front teeps to the body to keep his head out of the way and not get knocked out. So using that front teep, because he's not going to have to be worried about getting taken down by Jean Silva. Jean Silva wants to keep this a stand-up fight. So generally, you're throwing kicks. You don't want to throw kicks against grapplers and wrestlers because they can use that to take you down. So I believe he should be throwing those front teeps and just sucker punch his ribs, sucker punch the gas tank in his belly. And I think that's going to be a key tool. Whether he's going to do it, we'll find out. Let me know what you think he's going to do. But I believe that's his best way, is to fatigue Jean Silva, don't play into his games, put him on the back foot a lot, get Jean Silva walking on the back foot, using more energy, just like Imavov did to Kai Bahalio. He had Bahalio marching backwards a lot, circling around backwards, using a lot more energy. And that's what I believe Diego Lopez has to do to win this fight. Now, if we move on to the ultimate aura farmer, Jean Lord Silva. This guy is super entertaining. He's got vicious knockout wins, submission wins. He's a starcher. He's got quite the personality. He's out of that fighting nerds gym. Very entertaining guy. And he's currently ranked 10 at featherweight. And he's now versing the number 2 guy at featherweight. And is this too big of a jump for Lord Silva? Because look at his gym buddies, the other guys. In Carlos Prates got that big jump to Ian Gary. And for the first 3 rounds, it was like, oh boy, he did come back, but he did lose. He is coming off that spinning elbow win against Jeff Neal, which I believe would have been a better step up, but he did step in on short notice. Oh, no, Ian Gary did step in the fight Prates, so is what it is. Then you got Mauricio Rufy last week. Fighting Nerds went 0-2 last week with those step-ups. Rufy versus Benoit Saint Denis. Everyone thought he was going to knock him out. Got submitted in the 2nd round. Got exploited. And you got Kai Brahalio, main event last week. Got marched backwards for 5 rounds. Was a pretty competitive fight, but it was 49-46, 4 rounds to 1 on 2 judges' scorecards for Imavov, and the other judge had Imavov winning all 5 rounds. Every time these guys have had a bigger step up in competition, they've lost. Now, if you think 3rd time's a charm, is 4th time a charm? Is Lord Silva going to be able to break this streak when it comes to this big step up in competition? And my instant thoughts when I saw this fight get announced was, I don't believe he can win this. It'd be great for him to win, get catapulted, and then he might get a title shot. He's got a big name and all, but objectively speaking, I think we might see him get exploited a little bit. But the only thing is, in this matchup, Lopez doesn't have the crazy grappling style of a Mozart Evlov that could exploit exploit Jean Silva, but I think this being the first 5-round fight for Jean Silva, we might see this cardio, what his true cardio looks like. Bryce Mitchell did put a bit of a pace on him in their fight, but that obviously ended up Jean Silva ninja choking him. And with that win, has it aged well? Because that was kind of a bigger step up for Jean Silva into the rankings. But Bryce Mitchell has moved down to bantamweight now. And he's now moved down to 10-pound lighter division. So has it aged well? I don't think so. That's his most recent win. He's obviously starched other guys in his rise in the UFC. He hasn't lost, but this win, Bryce Mitchell was able to hit him. Bryce Mitchell isn't the greatest striker. He's more known for his grappling. And as you saw, he ended up getting finished. But I think he just got tired, and the damage he did take from Silva wore him out. And I don't know, Bryce Mitchell's, I don't really rate him that high, to be honest. Like, his recent win was at bantamweight versus guys who are smaller than him, where I do think where he belongs in bantamweight, because these guys are just too big for him in featherweight. And his other win was last win at featherweight was against Kron Gracie. And if you don't know Kron Gracie, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, hadn't fought in years, and he just lays on his back and loses via decision. So I'm not rating this win too much. And I did see periods where Silva, when he was pressured a lot, did look a bit labored, and he has to play it conservative, which is where I can see Lopes winning this and just out-voluming Jean Silva. And, Silva being, the favourite in this one, $1.45, there's not much value there. Would I be surprised if he knocked out Lopes? I think I would, because Lopes has a tough chin. He's only been TKO'd twice in his career, never been finished in the UFC though. It was early in his career by TKO. So I don't think he can get torched by Silva. If it happens, wow, that's electric. That would be crazy. I'd be super shocked. And that's what the UFC puts on, is those holy shit moments. And, I want the best for Jean Silva. But this is just me. If I have to pick and break it down, this is my thoughts on it, because I like the fighting nerds. They promote, again, branding. They promote themselves really well. And what's so great about this sport is you can do all the talking and brand yourself so well, but that shit doesn't matter once you get in there. So they're on a bit of a landslide just because those guys are coming off those losses in Paris, the fighting nerds. So I feel like the pressure is all on Jean Silva right now. I feel like he's, got to win, get the reputation back in line, even though, like, who fucking cares? But as far as, you got to look at factors and everything and what they're thinking about. He catapults to a top 5 featherweight if he wins this. And potentially, because of his name value, could get the fight against Volk. So huge pressure is on Jean Silva for this fight. And can he get it done? I believe he can, but I like to go with the underdogs in this. And for a ranked 2 number guy who's coming off a loss against Volkanovski, one of the greatest, if not the greatest featherweight of all time, I think Lopes has been slept on in this fight. Deserves a lot of respect. I think this is going to be a y'all must have forgot fight. Y'all must have forgot who Diego Lopes is. And that's why I got Lopes winning by, I made a bold Canelo Alvarez prediction, and I'm going to do the same here again. I think he finishes Jean Silva. I think he goes full power volume and gets him in the later rounds. I was thinking decision, but I'm not doing, already picking Lopes is a bit sort of going against the grain, but we're going super bold Gibbo MMA prediction here. Lopez by round 4 TKO. Probably round 5. Let's go round 5 TKO. I think he's gonna get him deep into those later rounds and make fatigue the coward of Jean Silva. So this is a really great fight, and I'm just gonna get this back. Where are we up to? Oh, let's get it back to the start. I'm actually not in my usual setup. I'm usually in my room, and you got the broken light, not the broken, but replaced switch. It's an old fan switch you usually see in the background. I'm actually down south, 8 hours away, at my brother's in a lovely beach town. So I've got the TV here. I'm using what I can to, make the episodes a bit more flary, and who knows where I'll be recording my next episode from. So stay tuned. I could be in Dubai, somewhere in Europe, somewhere in the outback of Australia, or in a shoebox apartment somewhere. Who knows? Because I can film these from anywhere, which is why I enjoy doing it. Because yeah, it's fun. So, but let me know your thoughts and who will win in this fight. Who you got winning in the main event? Diego Lopez or Jean Silva? I'm going Lopez by knockout in round 5. But yeah, as we quickly just go through the rest of the card, like I said, with the watered down stuff, Rob Font, David Martinez, co-main, just a lot of, Mexican sort of USA fighters. Calvin Gastelum is fighting at middleweight. Every time I see this guy on a card, I wonder, is this fight happening? And 80% chance some fucked up shit weight issue happened, even at middleweight. So who knows if he's gonna fight. Alex Hernandez, he's coming off that win against Chase Hooper. So I'm interested to see him because he's had a great year so far. He's versing Diego Ferreira. That's a good fight to watch, pay attention to. Jose Medina versus Todorovic. That's going to be, CTE will be the winner of that. Those guys are just going to be brawling each other. That could possibly get fight of the night. So if we're talking bonuses, I think let's go with that fight of the night. Jose Medina versus Dusko Todorov. That's just going to be a middle of the range level, just war. Performances of the night, I'm going to have to go with Diego Lopez. I think he's going to do a Yolmaster forgot and just get a nice performance win. And wow, Tatiana Suarez going from UFC Sydney co-main event against Zhang Wei Li on the DDP Strickland card early this year, now to like the prelims against Amanda Lemos. I thought this should be on the main card. She's a great fighter, and same as Amanda Lemos. So yeah, tough scenes there. I think Suarez deserves a little bit more respect. But Cedric Demas is fighting. He's got $13 in his bank account. So this guy's going to need a performance of the night bonus. So I think I'm going to pick him to get one. The guy's an absolute fucking, not a degenerate, I don't know him, but this guy's a convicted felon or whatever. So he's here to make some money. So this guy, I'm going to say this guy's fighting for his rent, and when you're fighting for your rent, you've got nothing to lose, and you're going to go in there and try and starch blokes. So I got him with a performance bonus. But yeah, nothing too that stands out for me on this card other than that main event. So we got big weekend of fights. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the main event, especially who you got winning. But yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Yeah, nothing else to really go on. But yeah, again, pretty good movie, right? But yeah, Mexican Independence Day, UFC Noche. I got my boy, no regrets. Diego Lopes winning round 5 TKO. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Catch you later.